What's up, everybody? Mars here, ready to draw the line for you today. And today I've kind of been coerced into, well, let's just call it talking about the Alabama special Senate election. I don't really want to, but enough people have asked me that I'm going to go ahead and do it because, I don't like to shy away from things. So let me get started here. And before I get rolling with this, let me start by saying that I am not actually a fan of Roy Moore. Not at all. Some people are going to claim that I am because of what I'm about to say, but nope, not at all. And on a personal level, the thing is he is a theocrat, and my natural position is not to defend someone who mixes politics and religion. Why? Well, because that kind of thing can be used against you and your religion just as easily as it can be used for it. So, not a Roy Moore fan, but okay, I have to take up a position of defense here because the liberal media clearly worked as hard as it could to smear him completely in the interest of helping the Democrats win a Senate seat that, by all accounts, they really shouldn't hold. I mean, it's been over 25 years since Alabama elected a Democrat to the Senate. And I'm not going to drag out all the details because we pretty much all know them. Let me get this eyeball here. And other eyeball. All right. But, there was a woman who was 14 at the time, and she claims that over 40 years ago, Moore behaved inappropriately with her. And the problem with it is she forged part of a message that he supposedly wrote in her yearbook. So that makes that suspect. And then another lady claims that he locked her in a car when she was, I believe, 17, but the locks that she claims he used didn't even exist at the time. So again, suspect. Those locks were invented 10 years after, were implemented 10 years later than the incident. So look, problem with all this is, no matter how you crack it, it's all allegations, but they were treated like they were actual convictions. And I want to be clear. I'm inclined to believe that Roy Moore may have actually, done a lot of the things that he's accused of, but he was not tried and convicted or even brought to civil court on any of it. So I'm just going to cut right to the chase on this one instead of beating around the bush like I do sometimes. My big problem with this is the effect that constant, solely allegation-based media reporting had on the election. On any election, actually, no matter what one it would be. No matter if it was for or against somebody that I wanted to win, didn't want to win, somebody that's in, I go back and forth on who I vote for based on what I think is needed. But anyway it goes, it shouldn't work like this. Because, let's look at some numbers. And to all my liberal friends watching this, remember that I told you these numbers are going to come back and bite you in the ass in the midterms. Just remember that I said that because it's going to happen. The effect of the media is 24/7 smear is 100% evident in these numbers that I'm about to go over, and it's overwhelming, frankly. I mean, when you look at the voter turnout here, okay, usually turnouts for a special election like this are really, really low because they're outside the normal election cycle, and people, they just usually don't show up. But in this election, that's not the case. The turnout for this one was pretty high, especially for Democrats. And get this, nearly 93, let me get some pants down here. All right, other side. Bring these down to the bottom. Split them in the middle here. And 1 foot, 2 foot, 3 foot. Okay, screwed that up a little bit. Let me erase that. But when 93% of people who turned out for Hillary Clinton's in 2016 during the presidential election turn out for Doug Jones during this election, that's not just interesting, it is unprecedented in the history of elections as far as I can tell. I mean, you had nearly all of the Democrats who turned out for the presidential race turn out for this special election for a Senate seat, and it's never happened before to my knowledge. Whereas only 49% of conservative voters who turned out for Trump showed up for Roy Moore. So what really happened here, it's pretty obvious from the numbers, no matter what people try and spin as what caused it, is you had basically a perfect storm for the liberals in that the turnout for them was on par with the presidential election, but you only had 50% of conservatives come out, and half of them stayed home because CNN, MSNBC, and ABC convinced them that pulling the lever for more was essentially the equivalent of pulling the lever for a pedophile. And to be clear, being a pervert who likes teenagers does not actually make somebody a pedophile. A pedophile is someone who likes undeveloped children. Liking teenagers technically makes you a creep. Still gross, but let's get our terminology right. And it's illegal. I mean, to engage with someone in that way under the age of consent. So if he did it, then he broke the law, and what needs to happen, bars and stripes from where I'm sitting. But the thing is, none of it was proven, okay? We all need to wake up and realize no matter what side we're on, we cannot be running our country based on allegations, man, because that can work against you just as much as for you, same as with the religion thing, right? And if it can be done to more, then it can be done to Democrat X in the future. And believe me, and remember I said this, it will. And it'll suck if that Democrat is actually the right person for whatever office they're running for. And honestly, I feel kind of the same way about Al Franken. There were accusations related to him, okay? Not convictions, or not even suing and winning. The only difference being that he halfway admitted to what he was accused of. So there's a bit of difference there, right? But still, he wasn't convicted of anything or sued, you know? And I don't have to like somebody or their political positions to back the idea of things being fair no matter which side of the aisle someone's on. And let me come over here and erase these lines here. I really should do a better job of erasing things ahead of time. And just write, this is a big media. Yeah, I think you're seeing the joke already. Bottom line here is we're headed down a very, very slippery slope wherein the media has the power to keep half of a voting base away by making by pushing allegations as if they were convictions. And speaking of that, I've seen a lot of hype that it was black people in general, specifically black women, who won it for Doug Jones. And kudos to them for rallying around something they believe in. And they did turn out. It's like 97% of black women voted for Doug Jones. And that's good. But the numbers, like I said, tell the tale. It wasn't so much that a certain group did vote a certain way. It was that a key group was swayed by the media into not showing up at all. And that, no matter how you slice it, is sad, because if that's what we've come to, if we've essentially come to a place where we live in a world where whether or not someone actually does what they're accused of, you now are guilty until proven innocent, and the media is now the judge, jury, and executioner, then we are all doomed AF, man. And I mean that because it really just means that next time around, it may be your candidate who gets screwed out of a position that you really need them in your neck of the woods. And again, I'm no fan of Roy Moore, but I was watching this special election to see how the 24/7 smear would affect things, and man, did it ever. But the thing is, I want my liberal friends to really think about this. When you've spent months and months declaring someone to be a child molester and a Nazi, and you still only have your candidate win by a couple points, what does that really say about your party's current organizational abilities, your fundraising apparatus, your platform? To me, it says there is no platform, which tit for tat brings me around to the conservative people who follow me and are probably watching. I hate to say this, but as long as people like Ryan, McConnell, and Priebus are in positions of power within the organizational and fundraising structure of the Republican Party, you might actually have problems in the midterms. The GOP right now has become weak, specifically because of the RNC's very, very, very poor leadership. When you can't even hold on to a Senate seat in Alabama, what the hell does that say? I hate to tell you guys this, but I can say this. I can say it because I don't give a damn what side of the aisle people think I'm on. Colin Damude, talking to you, buddy. Don't care what you think, what side you think I'm on. Okay? So I'm going to say this directly to my conservative-leaning friends who are listening here. You need to lean on the RNC like you have never leaned on them before if you're going to make things change before the midterms, because otherwise you're probably going to have problems, because I don't want to hear stuff like, oh, well, the voting was rigged. Felons and dead people voted for Jones. And look, and I know, like I've been saying, it was partially the result of a media smear campaign, but too bad, because it doesn't really matter what caused it. The bottom line is, the Democrats just won a Senate race in Alabama, okay? That's the bottom line. And that does not show movement in a positive direction for the GOP, not at all. Let me show the busted out teeth here. Obviously, this is Lady Justice. That's getting her butt kicked in an unfair match, basically. So even though the Dems spent months and months declaring that Roy Moore was beyond all possible human redemption, a rapist, a creeper, an anti-Semite, incompetent, all sorts of hyper-religious and ignorant AF, basically Satan incarnate, that still doesn't give the GOP a pass for not being able to rally support and get people off the couch and into the booth. And even the idea of black female voters tipping things in the favor of Jones, that wouldn't have happened if Moore's voters had been energized to show up. And that falls squarely on the backs of the RNC. Period. Okay? And most important, no matter which side of the aisle you're on here, if you mistakenly believe that this was a fight between Roy Moore versus Doug Jones, or liberal versus conservative, Republicans versus Democrat, you are dead wrong, and you better wake up and smell the coffee, because no matter which side of the aisle you're on politically, hear me on this. This was a battle between big media and Lady Justice, and she got her ass handed to her because big media was using a baseball bat with spikes on it, you know? So anyways, when one side or the other finds itself clapping real loudly because their candidate won based on allegations rather than any kind of proof or convictions, remember this. If you're okay with watching your candidate's opponent have his or her ass dragged through the mud by an out-of-control media just so you can win, then expect it to happen to you. And that makes you and me and anyone else who condones that way of winning complicit. We are complicit in those actions. And I guess that's about all for me today. I just wanted to step in here and say what I really thought. I'll just let the drawing finish out here at high speed. Be sure to click like or dislike if I pissed you off. Subscribe to my Draw the Line Mars YouTube channel, but most importantly, click the link below to subscribe to my personal list right now. It's a lot of fun, and obviously many of the things that I rant about here cannot actually be said. You know, I can't say everything that I really want to say. So go ahead and subscribe to my personal list, and you'll get early announcements when I release a new episode, plus some totally uncensored stuff that I can't exactly share anywhere but from my personal list, okay? So I will see you in the comments, and yes, I try to respond, even if you type everything in all caps because you're really, really, really liberal, or in this case, conservative, and you're ticked off that I didn't totally pander to you. Get your heads out of your asses and lean on the RNC right now to change their leadership. Mars out!